Namaste. My name is Vivekanand. You can call me Vivek. Welcome to a series of HOAs where I study and review some of my favorite books. Today I study and review the book Start With Why, written by Simon Sinek. As the book is full of golden nuggets and so cannot be covered all at once, I split that into two parts, and last week same time was part one. What you're seeing now is part two of the two-part study. You can see part one of the presentation on my website, wake-technology.com/video book, and also on YouTube. And on YouTube you would see that as since I use YouTube cards, you would see the prompt pop up when you watch this video. Today I have David F. Leopold and Doug New with me. So I would go through a slightly different agenda today, as in I would start with just a minute where I tell you about myself, what I do, why you need to contact me, why you may need to contact me, and how I would be useful for you. Similarly, I would ask both David and Doug to take a minute of each and tell us about themselves. So here we go. Let me start. I believe in living a simple life. I believe in thinking differently. I am proud to share my belief with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. Here's my simple way. Avoid the cowboys, work with the Indian. Let the Indian handle technology and you live an integrated, simple life. Maybe you have lots of projects and you are struggling to find someone who can integrate and simplify. You can reach me by email at Vivekanand or video book at wake-technology.com. So that was my just a minute. It's Doug.
Okay, hello. My name's Doug New. I'm an ex-professional footballer. I'm a salesman of many different products and services over the years. Finally setting up my own business within 2 years, having a business doing £750,000 turnover and 14 staff, making a number of cardinal mistakes and going bankrupt. Then 2 years later, setting up another company, almost carbon copy, making the same mistakes and going bankrupt a second time. If you don't get the lesson the first time round, you get the same lessons until you get it. And my big takeaway was cash flow is king, credit control is vital, and most importantly, it's about team, not just about you, the individual. Now I've built 4 different brands. I've got 4 different teams in the process of delivering these brands. They do coincide with a master brand, and that's Doug New. David?
Okay.
Is it David's turn?
Yeah.
Well, before my minute starts, I want to invite Doug to become a chapter in my video book, because I was very interested in listening to you talk about bankruptcy and small business. It's a huge issue. So you and I are going to do a chapter in my book, and we're going to talk about small business and bankruptcy. Okay?
That's fantastic to me.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to start my minute. Vivek. Vivek is the Indian in the equation, and I'm the cowboy.
No, I disagree. But anyway, yeah.
This is my minute, Vivek, not yours. And I facilitate any small business challenge. I've been doing the small business thing for over 40 years. and I pride myself on my ability to facilitate solutions, answers to the challenges.
That
That
was good.
sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. So we have introduced ourselves. So there will be 3 components today, as I mentioned in the last episode. First would be presentation. I would briefly go through that each during which I would ask both of you to give your opinions, feelings, and so on. And then participation, audience. There is an audience, and they have already put a few comments. I would bring them onto the screen, and that would be, I would be communicating with them. So okay, now let me get on with the presentation bit. As I said before I proceed, I need to answer the question, why am I doing this? As you may already know, Integrate, Simplify Life is my tagline. So with the study and review of works by inspirational people, I hope to inspire those who visit my website to integrate, simplify life. My aim is to provide value to every visitor to my website. I would be doing a bit of a screen share, and okay. I covered the first 3 sections of the book in part 1 of this 2-part presentation. Here is that part of the mind map. Today, in this second part, I shall cover the remaining 3 sections as shown on this mind map. So I start with the section 4 of Simon Sinek's book. It is entitled, How to Rally Those Who Believe. He gives the example of Steve Ballmer, who was then the CEO of Microsoft, who rallied his employees with his energetic speeches. Now, here is an interesting factoid from me. There is a YouTube video where Steve Ballmer physically keeps jumping on stage while screaming, "Developers, developers, developers, developers." And he goes on for about 15 minutes doing that. Now, it's quite amusing to watch the CEO of the biggest software company on earth doing that. But Steve Ballmer is very creative. He motivates his people by his energy. But Simon Sinek asks, what happens the next day or the next week when Ballmer's energy is not there to motivate his employees? Bill Gates, on the other hand, is not the most energetic public speaker, but he inspires people. And here is a major point. Those who know why need those who know how. Most people in the world are how types. To alter the course of any industry, a very special and rare partnership between those who know why and those who know how is required. So that is one part. I would ask both of you, what do you think of that?
Doug, you want to take first shot? I'll take second shot. Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, we'll do. There's no doubt about it. There are many more people that know they know how, but often they don't know why they're doing their how, and that's why this is so poignant. Simon Sinek's book and recording the video of starting with why, because the why drives everything else. And it's very true that you can be a motivational speaker and you can inspire people, but if they don't really know why they're inspired, like one of those wind-up toys, they actually wind down again. They need to be self-perpetuating themselves, and so that you've got to ignite their why. As soon as you ignite their why, then you're in business. And I think that's the challenge of starting with why.
David?
My thought, and thank you, Doug, for your thought. It was very provocative. My thought, the first thing I thought about was Bill Gates and his wife, Linda, have taken their $1 billion of wealth that they got from building Microsoft and have created a worldwide foundation to do good things. That's what they want to do with their money, with heavy emphasis on education. And I bet they are. I bet they are employing lots of consultants with multi-million-dollar contracts to show them the why, or the how of how to best use their dollars and make things happen. Then I think about Steve Ballmer, who took his multi-billion dollars of wealth from Microsoft and bought a basketball team, an NBA basketball team. And so he is probably, not probably, I know he's hiring lots and lots of folks to show him the how of taking that investment, well, it was more than $1 billion. I'm not sure how much more than $1 billion, and making it return on investment for him in the world of professional sports. Doug, maybe he should have hired you, or maybe he should hire you.
I don't have any time. I'm building my own enterprise.
There you go. But I'll bet. Yeah. But I'll bet if on the other end of the line you heard that Steve Ballmer was on the other end of the line, you would drop what you're doing and take that phone call.
Well, you would think so, but I've got bigger fish to fry.
Oh wow! I want to know your how then. I want to know your why and how.
Yeah, okay. Well, David, we'll have time to get to know each other. Don't worry.
If Steve Ballmer called me up, I would drop what I'm doing to figure out why.
Well, I'm not going to mention any names, but I've got someone of a similar caliber interested in what I'm doing. So there we go.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. As Simon Sinek says in his book, the why exists in the part of the brain that controls feelings and decision making, but not language. What exists in the part of the brain that controls rational thought and language, but not necessarily decision making. So coming back to the slideshow, the leader sitting at the top of the organization is the inspiration, the symbol of the reason we do what we do. The leader represents the emotional limbic brain. What the company says and does represents the rational thought and language of the neocortex. In a chapter entitled Communication is not about speaking, it's about listening, Simon explains what he calls the celery test. Imagine going to a dinner party for business people. You are likely to receive lots of advice about what worked for them. And since it is a dinner party, some successful business owner might say that their success is down to availability of free M&Ms and Oreo cookies for their employees. Some may talk about healthy living and availability of free salads and celery for their employees. But if your company's why is to live a healthy life, then when you buy food for your business, you would buy rice, milk, and celery rather than M&Ms and Oreos. I think the message you end up listening would depend on your company's why. The fifth part of his book is entitled The Biggest Challenge is Success. In a chapter titled When Why Goes Fuzzy, Simon gives the example of Walmart. Sam Walton believed that if he looked after people, people would look after him. Walmart was what Walton built to serve his fellow human beings. Service was his higher cause. The problem was, his cause was not clearly handed down. In the post-Sam era, Walmart confused itself. They confused why it existed with how it did business. They traded the inspiring cause of serving people for a manipulation. Their driving motivation became all about cheap. Simon says when the why goes, what is all you'll have left? So that was part 5. What do you think of that?
Take it away, Doug. Take it away, and I'll follow up with you from you.
Okay. Well, you talk about Steve Jobs, Vivek, and for me, now Steve Jobs has gone from Apple. They've lost their why. They're trying desperately to rediscover it, but it seems to have been in the soul of the man. You know, when they got rid of him, Apple dipped. They got him back, and Apple became even better, because often the leader is the one that channels the why. And when he comes out of the picture, unless you've got another leader that's on the same wavelength, it doesn't happen. And the why, in a lot of ways, is like magic, because it's the magic of dreaming. And Steve Jobs had a dream. Bill Gates had a dream. All of the great leaders and propagators of those businesses were in that magic zone of why they're doing it. And it's not that easy to grasp, because if it was, people would just do it and carry on. It's quite mysterious, and all this discussion we have here is to attempt to uncover the mystery, but mystery it is, as far as I can see. David?
Actually, Vivek, I'm going to take issue with both the statements that you made.
Okay.
Well, you didn't make them. Simon Sinek made them. Yep. You presented them. Your first statement was that communication is not about speaking; it's about listening, and I halfway agree with that. I halfway agree with that. Communication is about listening, and brilliant communicators do a brilliant job of listening. However, and this is where I would take issue, communication has to be a two-way street, or it's not communication. And so it's about listening and then reacting to what it is that you're hearing. Maybe it's a small issue, and I'd have to read further what Simon has to say about it. So that was point number 1. Point number 2, about Sam Walton, and I have studied Walmart pretty closely over the years, just because I've been totally fascinated by the concept, and I'm going to share something here. Well, I'm going to share 2 personal things. Number 1, it was always Sam Walton's mission that when somebody walked into his store, they would have the trust that walking into his stores, they would get the best price available in the marketplace. Now, that's true more often than not, but along the way, it was very, very challenging to Walmart to create a business model that folks had to accept. Folks would accept because, you know, when if you remember back in the early years of Walmart, they were the first ones to really go big into promoting the concept of Buy American, that buy goods that are manufactured in America. They did that 20 years ago, if I remember correctly. Now, over the years, there was a big shift that in order for Walmart to present the best, and this is an unfortunate situation. It's an unfortunate situation and a sad commentary about business in the United States, that in order for Sam Walton to present the best price to the consumer when they walked into a store, they had to go to China to get a manufactured product that was more cheaply manufactured in China than it was in the United States. And subsequently, it created all kinds of other issues for the company. And I can speak with a little bit of authority on this. At one time, my largest client, and this goes back to the mid-'80s, at one time my largest client, his largest client was Walmart. And in fact, he told me some stories about him sitting in the truck, in Sam Walton's truck, with his dog and talking, and he shared some of those experiences with me. So I'm not just, it was with a little bit of trusted authority that I made those comments. But I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but you presented really two great why points, and I'll challenge both those why points. But
can I come back in again, Vivek?
Yeah, sure. Let's have a discussion here.
Yeah, sure. The listening part is a very, very important part of leadership, and I agree with you, David. It is a two-way conversation. There's something Henry Ford said once, that if he'd have listened to his customers, they'd have just wanted him to make a faster horse. And so leadership is about listening where people actually are at the moment, and then presenting them with a vision to inspire them, and then listening to their feedback on that vision. And that's where the two-way conversation occurs. You know, first of all with your immediate team, and then when your immediate team get it, and they're evangelizing, so to speak, then it spreads out into a circle, and it's almost like energy. You know, the founder, the entrepreneur, the visionary, sees the world anew and then transfers that to his immediate team, and it spreads out like energy from the sunshine.
And if I can make a comment to what you just said, Doug, that, and I forgot what the comment was I was going to say.
I do that so often.
It was about leadership, and you said something that I immediately thought of Michael Gerber, who was one of my mentors and somebody I've actually met, and I had a wonderful experience going one-on-one with him for 3 days. And I know that Vivek is going to be doing Michael Gerber, his book, E-Myth, in the future. Is that correct, Vivek?
Yes. Yes.
So Michael Gerber is one of my two main mentors, and he was the very first one to actually say that the entrepreneur, the visionary, the leader has to be able to step away from their business and create those visions and work on those visions, and let the other folks who are in the business work on the business, in the business. And so
totally agree with that.
And that was the first thing that I thought about when you said that. But that's a brilliant segue into a future HOA. How about that, Vivek?
Yeah, it is. What you said about Michael Gerber, he was explaining coming back to this, what we are talking about today, he was explaining how part of running a business, and yeah, so we would be discussing that in a future, not next week, uh, probably the week after that. Okay, coming back to
it begs the question: who's next week, Vivek?
next week, I shall talk about the chimp paradox.
Ah,
okay.
The chimp paradox. I don't know whether David, you have read the book or not, but the chimp paradox.
Steve Peters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Steve Peters, David.
I have not read the book, but I've read about the book. I haven't read the book.
Yeah, Steve Peters has had a huge impact on sport in this country.
Okay. Yeah, continuing on with the book. So, part 6 of his book is titled Discover Why. And in a chapter titled The Origins of Why, he says that before an arrow can gain any power or achieve any impact, it must be pulled backwards 180 degrees away from the target. In the book, he actually talks about the British and the French war, and how the French, who were in huge numbers, were defeated by the British, and the major reason for British victory was arrows and all that. So that's why he talks about arrow and why, how the arrow gains its power. So he says the why derives its power from the past. The why does not come from looking ahead at what you want to achieve. The why does not come by figuring out an appropriate strategy to get there. It's not born out of any market research. It does not come from extensive interviews with customers or even employees. It comes from looking in the opposite direction from where you are now. Finding why is a process of discovery, not invention. So that's what he talks about. Over to you.
Take it
What
away,
are your
Doug.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, okay. I'm not so sure about this, because I understand what Simon's saying there about the why is born in the present and the past, and pulling back the arrow is going back into that past so you can then thrust forward. But my why doesn't come from that. My why does come from the future. Yeah, my why comes from what can be. You know, I think the entrepreneur looks around and sees niches and sees opportunities to improve the world. You know, whether that's building a corner shop or whether that's building a better pizza delivery system or whatever can make things better for people. That he's seeing the future. So I'm not sure I agree with that about the why is in the past, because I think the why is in what can be myself. So, you know, that's my take on it. David?
Actually, the first thing that I thought about as I listened to you, Doug, is that I don't know, being from the UK, how much you were exposed to a character in the United States, Mickey Mouse, Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse.
Big time, big time.
Okay, and there used to be a Mickey Mouse Club show, and as a young child growing up, I watched the show, and as I was listening to you, I got a flashback from my youth, where they sang a song, and they said, Mickey Mouse, MICKEYMOUSE, and then they said why, and their why was why, because we love you. And so and so that why goes back. I mean, you can't love somebody till you know why you love them, so that has to be looking back what has happened in the past and the motivation for you to move forward. The why part, Vivek, is as you presented it in your initial graphic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's probably the most, in my mind, the most philosophical part,
Mm-hmm.
most philosophical conversation of the
Mm-hmm.
three things that we've talked about already today.
Mm-hmm.
They're practical examples of the two things that we've talked about prior to this third conversation here. But why is very very philosophical. As Doug said, Doug's why is from as he looks forward. My why personally is really my last 40 plus years is why I'm doing what I am doing today. So it's kind of a little different thing. To me, the future is a mystery. We don't necessarily explain. We don't know what the why is going to be as we look to the future. We think we know what it might be. We hope what it might be, but until we do it, we don't know. And that's where, just to tie it all together, that's where small businesses make a lot of mistakes. That they don't think about the future. Instead of saying, "Oh, that's never going to work, and I can't do it," and da 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 da, try it. If you think it's going to work, try to make it work. Maybe it's not going to work. Maybe it's not going to work. But I'm sure, Doug, you'll agree with me that our customers decide exactly what's going to work and what's not going to work. So
yeah, because they either buy or they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me bring in this comment from Jim Shankle. He says, I haven't read his book yet, but always show his TED video to my MBA marketing strategies students. Start with why is part of the concept behind Entrepreneur on Ramp that Larry Forlanier and I are developing. And he says he'll try to attend live, but sometime later this month he would want to chat privately with me. I wonder what that would be.
Can I make a comment, Vivek, on that?
Yeah.
As you know, Jim Shankle and I are good friends, and I chose Jim to be chapter 1 of my video book. And talking about strategy. Jim Shankle is an extremely successful entrepreneur and a brilliant business strategist. And
he's
so
he's a professor, isn't he?
He is he teaches a graduate course in
MBA.
An MBA course, and he's actually done some HOAs inside that MBA course, and so people had an opportunity to see what was going on. As a matter of fact, David Amerlin participated in the very first HOA that Jim Shankle did inside of his class. But he's a brilliant strategist, and actually I just let him know a day or two ago that we need to have another discussion for another chapter of my book. But when you were able to get Jim's attention, Vivek, on what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's a huge step forward. it's a huge step forward.
Can I just take us back to where we were a few minutes ago on where the why comes from? Some people's why is in the past, my why is in the future. I think that everybody's individual why has a different origin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because as he said, it's in the limbic brain. It's in our emotions. It's how we feel about being alive.
No, I think what he actually says is how. Remember, what he's talking about here is discover why. I mean, he is trying to explain how you find your why. How do you discover what your why is? He says, as per him, he says it comes from your past, and why you want to do something in the future may not. I mean, it's if you as per him at least, and I agree with him in that, if you base it on what you want to achieve in the future, you are going with the what. You're not going with the why. So you're going for you're going for a result. You're going for a goal. But why would you want to do that? That will still remain a question. So what
Yeah.
Simon Sinek says there is discover the answer to the question why, and then proceed further. Okay, and in the last chapter of his book, Simon says, if you follow your why, then others will follow you. When you compete against everyone else, no one wants to help you. But when you compete against yourself, everyone would help you.
Yeah.
Now, think about how we do business. We always compete against someone else. We always try to be better than someone else, better quality, more features, better service, and no one wants to help us. What if what if we showed up to work every day to be better than what we were yesterday, simply because we want to leave the organization in a better state than we found it? All organizations start with why, but only the great ones keep their why clear year after year. So what do you think of that?
Well, I totally agree with that last piece. My belief is that there are currently around about 7.3 billion people on this planet who all have a potential why. And in fact, if everybody was singing from their heart, we would have the most amazing symphony. It sounds very idealistic, but when I'm going about my world and I meet people and I help them connect to their passion, amazing things begin to happen. And there's no competition. There is only one you in the world. There's only you can play your part. And when people realize that, magic occurs all around them. There is no competition. There's only collaboration when people are on purpose. And that's my belief, and that's why I think Simon's book and Simon's talk resonates with so many people, because it's connecting them to their reason for being. Do you agree with that, David?
Not only do I agree with it, I don't think there's anything I can add to that.
Okay. Well, in that case, you must be doing it as well then.
Wonderful summary statement, Doug.
Yeah, let me bring up a few more comments from the event stream.
Yeah.
Elaine Marsden, she says she's in Italy right now, so we'll miss part 1. I like what you're doing with this book review.
My 2 granddaughters are in Italy right now, so when they get to the United States, I'll make sure that they listen to it today.
Coach G. Moore says, thanks for staying Google Hangouts on air for quality. See you tomorrow. This was posted yesterday on the event page. So yeah, there has been a few changes, or rather, I should say, Hangout on air is not the only way where we can share information, and lots of people have moved on to different ways of sharing their knowledge, information, or marketing, the way they market, and so on. So that's their view. I agree with the point about quality. So and Margarita Crystal Lotus says, looks like a great topic. She would be watching the, I think she means
replay.
Replay.
We can rely on the replay, can't we?
Yeah.
Okay, those were some of the comments, and yeah, I have actually come to the end of the presentation, and so let me summarize. Let me bring the mind map back. This was the mind map I used in the part 1 of the presentation. I covered the first 3 sections of his book, and in today's presentation I covered the remaining 3 sections. That is the full mind map, and I hope I have inspired you to strive for what inspires you. And few more comments. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Kim Armstrong says, a great conversation. I love this book. We'll have to go back and watch the ones I missed.
Yay, Kim, you go, girl.
Coach Gmood says, yes, hello, present. So he's watching live. So yeah, yeah, as I said, I hope I have inspired more of you to strive for what inspires you. You can reach me by email at this address, videobook@wake-technology.com, and you can see this video at wake-technology.com/videobook. So yeah, any more?
I have one final thing I'd like to say, Vivek.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was brilliant how you made a 3D application out of Simon's book, and start with Y, and your W on his Y is a coffee mug. I thought that was brilliant how you did that. Is that available? Can we buy that?
Yes, fantastic. We need the W mug.
Actually, we can. They're for sale today for the special price of $19.95 for anybody watching this HOA today.
Says the marketing person.
Very good, very good.
Okay.
Actually, Vivek, you and I will talk about that because it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah, Doug.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, David, you were talking about wanting to do a chapter of the book. How do you propose it?
I will send you a personal ping message, and we'll work it out.
Okay, that sounds cool.
We can't make a commitment on air because then people will know what we're doing. We don't want people to know what we're doing.
Okay, I thought we were off air now. I didn't realise. I saw it not broadcasting anymore, but I was wrong.
We still are.
Okay.
We still are. I see the live button on.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so there he says, Coach, thank you for saying watching live.
Hey. Excellent.
Okay, so yeah, David and I would be doing we are going to blab a lot, aren't we, David?
You and I always blab. We're going to do it officially. We're going to do it inside of Blab Technology.
but this HOA series would continue. So
Oh yeah, our blabbing is something different. You and I are going to blab about a collaborative project that you and I have put together about marketing, sales, and technology. So our blabs are going to start tomorrow, and we'll be blabbing for the next 2 weeks.
yeah, but Coach alluded to, Blab is bit more casual. It's still in beta stages, as you are aware of. For quality, it would be Hangout on Air, for now at least. And as far as I'm concerned, technology is technology. It's a tool. It's always it needs to serve a purpose, and you need to use the appropriate technology for what you want to do. Why you use a specific technology is it depends on you. You know, as Simon said, the salary test. Does it pass the salary test? So yeah, unless either of you have any closing comments, I would be closing the show, this specific episode today. Next week I would be talking about the chimp paradox, as Doug also mentioned. Chimp Paradox is a book about, he studied the human brain, and he studied it with regard to how we behave, how it relates to business, and that's where it's very important for business people to know how the brain behaves, and it actually follows on from what Simon Sinek talked about, the limbic brain and the neocortex and all that. The chimp paradox is a in-depth study of human brain psychology and so on. So I would be talking about that next week, same time. So I would be sending out, creating the event and sharing the event page with Google Plus friends, and I invite all of you to join. Either say yes or at least say maybe, so that you would have the Google Calendar create an event for you and remind you of the event. So I would conclude this episode by saying, integrate, simplify life. Thank you. Bye.